So good morning and good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Captain. So let's begin with the Friday study circle, where we are reading the passages from the Sunlit path. So I hope we have centered ourselves with the help of the mantra and is invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's presence and grace as we go through these words with an aspiration that they don't just remain till the level of knowledge, and the aspiration is that they become me, become my life. Yeah. So last week we did two passages, strengthen the will and how to will truly. And then we had started on another parallel reading on will. So Captain, would you remember if we finished this how to will truly? I think we did. Yeah, I think maybe he's not here. So I'll share maybe we can read this once and then I'll share the parallel thing that we were reading so that we can finish that. So if anybody has the capacity, if they just want to read this once for us, which we had taken up last time.
Okay, I'll read.
Yeah, thank you.
How to will truly. To learn how to will is a very important thing. And to will truly, you must unify your being. In fact, to be a being, one must first unify oneself. If one is pulled by absolutely opposite tendencies, if one spends three-fourths of his life without being conscious of himself and the reasons why he does things, is one a real being? One does not exist. One is a mass of influences, movements, forces, actions, reactions, but one is not a being. One begins to become a being when he begins to have a will. And one cannot have a will unless he is unified. And when you have a will, you will be able to say to the divine, I want what you want, but not before that. Because in order to want what the divine wants, you must have a will. Otherwise, you can will nothing at all. You would like to. You would like it very much. You would very much like to want what the divine wants to do. You don't possess a will to give to him and to put at his service.
Yes, thank you, Captain. Will is really important, and so are so many other aspirations and prayers. But a lot of times we just feel that if we read something, that's enough. So will, I feel, is something that helps us what I have read to transfer it into my everyday. And I guess then, Mother says that an aimless life is a miserable life. And on the quality of your aim depends the quality of your life. And we can sense from there that how truly important a will would be, because that's kind of whatever my aim will be, my will be, and depends what I'm willing. So it needs a lot of attention on our part and a lot of importance. So we did go through this. So if there's anything on this anybody wants to reflect on, we can do that shortly. If not, I'll just share the other article.
Yeah, Taru, I just want in the second paragraph, the last sentence, I don't, I didn't understand
Yeah, so
what
that,
does that mean. You
yeah,
would
so
very
it's,
much like to want, you would very much like to want what the divine wants to do. You don't possess a will to give to him and to put at his service. What does that mean?
yeah, so here, you would very much like to want what the divine wants to do. So if you put a but here, it will become more clear. But you don't possess, but if you don't possess the will to give to him, to put at his service. So they are just saying, she's just saying, you might
Uh,
think that you want what the divine wants, but you know how they say that ego is the helper, ego is the bar. So first you have to want something. Okay, this is what I want. You want to have that personality, that assertion, that aspiration. So they are saying first when you have it, that I want this, then you can say, okay, I want this and I'm offering this to you. So then, the process starts. So if you just read it, here, like, I want what you want, but not before that. When you have a will, you will be able to say to the divine, I want what you want, not before that. So in alignment with that, if you read, that you first need to know what you want and then you can give it. Like first you need to develop an ego, then you give it. First you need to develop a reasoning, then they say reasoning is a bar, right? First you need to want to know. So knowing, then you shall have knowledge. You know how Sri Aurobindo says. So similarly, when you have the will, you offer it, and then the process begins that I want what you want.
okay, okay. It's a continuation. So
Yeah,
if
it's
we
a
read that
continuous.
way, then it will. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you,
it's a
Taru.
bit confused, a little bit confusing because we have to understand that these are passages taken from larger context.
Mm,
So from then it would make sense, but because we just see snapshots,
mm.
sometimes the wording can be a little confusing. And so glad you asked and we cleared that. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. So last week, after doing the passages on will, we had started this. We had done the first two paragraphs of how to increase willpower. So maybe we can read this, like anybody who's willing and has the capacity, the first two paragraph, and then we'll read the third one and just if there's any reflection needed, we'll take it. Otherwise, if it's because it was quite simple, we'll just read it for our own understanding. Because again, like I said, will and how to increase willpower is something that we most of us can really use in a practical life. Yeah.
I can read it.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
The first two paragraphs?
Yeah, maybe you can read the first two and then we'll take up the third
Okay,
after that.
sure.
Thank you.
How to increase willpower. We know we are doing something wrong, and yet, when the time comes, we are unable to stop ourselves. This can happen for very small things and also for things which have a crucial impact on our lives. When we are quiet by ourselves, we feel that we will not indulge in wrong movements or repeat our mistakes. But as soon as the occasion arises, not only do we forget our resolutions, but even begin to find justifications and excuses for our indulgence. And the whole cycle repeats itself over and over again. We sometimes wonder why this is so. This article explores the way out of this uh, psychological predicament. Should I continue? The human personality is is extraordinarily complex, consisting of consisting of several antagonistic parts, normally bound together under the control of the mind. The mind itself is not a flawless instrument either. It is always capable of finding a way of explaining everything and providing admirable reasons for its conclusions. Depending on which side one begins to argue from, it can justify any impulse in the world. The mind cannot eliminate the multitudinous impulses and desires we cherish within. It can only suppress them until the moment inevitably comes when mind becomes fatigued or foggy, allowing some other part of the personality to rebel and satisfy its pent up thirsts. The other thing to observe is that one cannot exhaust a desire by fulfilling it just once or a few times. The habit patterns cannot be broken by reinforcing them, even marginally. They are nullified only after we have cast ourselves into the greater light of the Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, Jatin. So the first paragraph is about, how we keep doing, keep repeating how we think, we feel we have understood, we would not be doing that, repeating certain things, and yet we have all seen that just thinking that I would not do it, it doesn't work. Something just, overcomes and we forget, like it mentioned. So the second paragraph, again, first how it talks about the antagonistic part. So even the passage that we read about will in the sunlit part, it spoke about how the being has to be unified. So again, this is just reiterating that we have several antagonistic parts nominally bound together under the control of the mind. And the mind itself is not a flawless instrument either. It is always capable of finding a way of explaining everything and providing admirable reasons for its conclusions. This again, if we are blessed and there's grace, we see how, my mind tries to take me more towards the things of patterns and expectations and, the race, and how I have to stand against myself a lot of times to do what is good, to do what is auspicious. It's not a flawless instrument, is a very polite way of saying it, that it can be quite a flawed instrument in another way. Yeah. So depending on which side one begins to argue from, it can justify any impulse in the world. And we might have experienced that, right? At how sometimes the opinions change. You might be believing in that and some things change and you're willing to fight for the other end as if, that's what you've been born to do. So it just shows that how any opinion is just an opinion, any side is just a side, and it's always divided, constricted. Yeah. I think even in Savitri, there was this beautiful line that, how in book one, canto three, I think that how he moved beyond the thoughts because he realized that they just show an arc, right? Like they never show a complete picture, just an arc of things, and that keeps other things, blind. So the mind cannot eliminate the multitudinous impulses and desires we cherish within. It can only suppress them until the moment inevitably comes when mind becomes fatigued or foggy, allowing some other part of the personality to rebel and satisfy its pent up thirst.
Taruk, can you give some example for this?
Yeah, I think the simplest one that's coming to me is like if we have, some restraint that, okay, say I say that, okay, I would not indulge in this, or I would say not have coffee. And if I haven't had coffee for, say, a month, and I was used to having 2 cups a day, after a month, a part of me would say, oh my God, you have done it for the whole month. You deserve it. You can, have. So, and of course, there would be others too, but how it's like, it kind of has ways of working around itself and kind of reducing the discipline or the focus. So, and again, it goes in line with the next sentence that the other thing to observe is that one cannot exhaust a desire by fulfilling it just once or a few times. The habit cannot be broken by reinforcing them even marginally. So, rebel and satisfy its mental thirst. Yeah. So how we, kind of justify that no, it's okay. I have restrained so much, I have so much strength I have gained. See what I have done. And it comes back again with full swing, and there we go again. But that also I feel is it's a learning for us, right? Doing it again and again, and then get disgusted, or, it's like we cannot do this anymore. But we don't have to do everything till that extent. But yeah, we learn from that. Yeah, inviting more reflections on this or what we have learned before we go to the next paragraph.
So, something on this, what we were reading just now, that the mind's control is a precarious control. It's not a absolute control. तो imagine करें कि अगर एक there are some papers, imagine that there are some papers and you want to keep them not floating around in the air, like पंखा चल रहा है. So what we do is we put a paper weight on the papers. But it is a precarious control because as soon as the paper weight is away, the papers are floating everywhere around, right? और हवा चल रही है, या तो आप पंखा बंद कर दो तो पेपर्स नहीं हिलेंगे, या फिर आपको पेपर वेट रखना पड़ेगा तो पेपर्स नहीं हिलेंगे. लेकिन जो पेपर्स का राइट नाउ कैरेक्टर है वो अभी हिलने वाला ही है, उसमें अभी संतुष्टि नहीं आई है, उसमें एक सेटलमेंट नहीं आई है. सो यूजुअली ऑल मेंबर्स ऑफ अवर बीइंग, if under the mind's control, even if under the mind's control, are like that कि आपने उसके ऊपर एक पेपर वेट रखा हुआ है माइंड के कंट्रोल से, लेकिन एक ट्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग अभी नहीं है. अब जैसे आप कॉफी की बात कर रहे थे, और वी टेक एनी अदर एडिक्शन, है ना. सो इफ वी टॉक ऑफ एनी डिजायर, व्हाई वी आर आफ्टर satisfying that desire or finding fulfillment through that particular thing, is because we have not yet found the true contentment within, which is without any outer condition. वो अभी नहीं मिला है. तो इसलिए अब जैसे कॉफी की बात करते हैं, जस्ट कंटिन्यूइंग विद दैट एग्जांपल, why I crave or desire for a coffee, because I feel that when I have coffee it gives me contentment or a kind of a happiness or a joy which otherwise I don't have access to. तो फिर मैं क्या करती हूँ, मैं 1 महीने तक अपने आप को फास्टिंग पे रखती हूँ कि ओके, फास्टिंग फॉर कॉफी, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू हैव कॉफी फॉर 1 full month, एंड अंदर से क्या है, अंदर से अभी ट्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है. देयर इज नो ट्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द स्पिरिट इन मी, बट द ओनली हैप्पीनेस और जॉय आई नो इज आफ्टर हैविंग सेटिस्फाइड दैट need or desire of for coffee or wherever, we all have our own points where we feel that अच्छा ये कर लेंगे तो इससे संतुष्टि मिल जाएगी. While in the meantime, if I am denying myself of indulgence in coffee, parallelly also working on myself and finding true contentment within, connecting with my true consciousness, then by the time 1 month is over, I would feel no need to even touch the coffee. I may have coffee, but coffee I'm not having for contentment. So this is what we call a precarious control. And why a precarious control? Because each part of the being is very stubborn, and they all want delight and contentment, but they don't have access to delight and contentment if not for the desire fulfilled temporary. So in the meantime, while we are doing the denial, which comes as a necessary phase in, I think, in our life, at times we have to deny ourselves of things that we seek. Parallelly, I have to find joy and contentment within. So that's where, for example, in Savitri, we see all human phases get covered in Savitri. So one of these phases where she's just, Savitri is just like as if she's nothing without Satyavana. And she's enjoying his presence when he's not informed of what is going to happen yet. There is this canto called the ordeal and the foreknowledge of the ordeal, something like that. That she's having that pain that very soon this connection is going to be lost, and she can't tell Satyavan also. And there are a few lines, I think book 7 है, canto 1 होगा शायद. तो वहां पे ये they share that how she's wanting more and more, give Satyavan, give more and more, and yet she cannot fulfill herself. So it portrays this part of our human nature, where yes, book 7, the book of yoga. हाँ. So यहाँ पे ना एक there is a line later, if you can control F maybe and type give, अगर वो दिखता है ना, हाँ ये this one, yes, thank you. So they are together with each other, Satyavan and Savitri, and how lovers are united and enjoying that embrace, or wherever they are. So her soul secluded, shut into his soul. After all was given, she demanded still. This is the character of desire. After all was given, she yeah. So when we were talking of addictions and desires and this control of the mind, कि अंदर से आपको अभी इच्छा होए जा रही है, but ऊपर से आप अपने आप को stop करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, mind को, mind has the controlling power. That doesn't work, or even if it works, it is a precarious control. Very soon, the moment you take the paperweight away, all the mother says that as if you take away a rock which is put in a open field and has been put there for a long time. So the moment you take away that rock, you see lots of little worms and things wriggling, they come out. So like that, there are tendencies in our being which come out when the precarious control of the mind, it shifts for some time. And all of us may have experiences of that sort. ये कब होता है हमारे साथ? And that is why the true control is of the spirit, because there is a true understanding that this is what is beneficial and this is the right way to go. वहाँ पे we don't have our own stubbornnesses of all sorts, because there is no outward seeking going on. When mind's control is there and अंदर से you want to fulfill yourself here and there outward seeking is there. You know that you have a feeling that outwardly I will find contentment somewhere. But when the true spirit's control is there, then there is a knowing that outwardly I am never going to get it. You have that getting within yourself only. So that's a true control coming from the soul consciousness or from our spirit. That's the true control, where you have a knowing कि ये हमें कुछ नहीं दे सकता. This can't give me what I am seeking. That's the true control. But that comes, as we were sharing, that comes only in degrees, and we increase in our capacity slowly. Like we stabilize our stance as the spirit slowly, because these are realizations to be made. These are not just theoretical understandings, है ना? पढ़ने से ये ज्ञान नहीं मिलता हमको. ये ज्ञान हमको प्रैक्टिकल रियलाइजेशन से मिलता है when our actions are oriented by the spirit rather than by controlling or masking ourselves.
So should we continue with the? Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody wants to read this, otherwise I'll go ahead.
Yeah, Tharu, I'll read.
Yes, Adaji.
When we begin to struggle with our desires, we begin to observe that there is a certain rhythm to it. Once we gain enough willpower to refrain from a certain act, we realize that the habit has not really been eliminated. The vibration which has been cast out from within seems to hang around in one's atmosphere, from where it can re-enter during a moment of depression, anger, or excitement. To overcome this difficulty, one has to illuminate one's own atmosphere through regular practice of yoga. But even then, the struggle is not over for the vibrations which we presumed to have been neutralized tend to sink into subconscious, and from there they can rise during moments of weakness or during dreams when we are supposedly fast asleep. The seeker of yoga finds himself or herself caught in this labyrinthine game of hide and seek, which can consume the greater part of one's life. But then the unexamined life is not worth living, is it?
So I think you've already, this is what you were saying, right? That how it's not eliminated, and if you want to just take this also.
Yeah.
Just now you were saying, right, Monica? If you don't cultivate any parallel contentment, then again this will come out.
Yes.
That is what.
Yes, and even when we are doing this cultivation, like what he shares here, are these words of the mother? Taru, is this words from the mother herself on this blog? ये जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं क्या चीज है?
ये it says questions of the month appearing collected works of the mother, volume 5, questions and answers.
Article was adapted, so I think it maybe is a, I don't know whether these are exactly the words of mother or maybe, है ना, उसके ऊपर क्या किया गया, कमेंट किया गया, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है, बट एनीवे दिस इज फ्रॉम कलेक्टेड वर्क जहाँ पे रेफरेंस डाला हुआ है इन्होंने. But I think that maybe it's like a blog what we are reading. Anyway, so what is shared in this paragraph here, that first of all a continuous practice of yoga is necessary, and as Sri Aurobindo says that there is a long this thing, ki aap 10 steps you take forward and then you realize, oh, nothing has moved, then to 20 backwards and then again 20 forward, 30 backwards. So this keeps on happening for a long time, because in integral yoga, each of the darker part of the being, which is less illumined, has to be illumined. So this back and forth will keep on happening, and one doesn't need to be frustrated by it. इससे फ्रस्ट्रेट होने की जरूरत नहीं है कि ये बैक एंड फोर्थ क्यों हो रहा है, दैट ओ अभी तक तो ये मेरे में है, ओ अटैचमेंट भी है, अच्छा ये डिजायर्स भी हैं, स्लीप में भी these kind of thoughts are there, whatever. So but they are good because when they come up, then we begin to work upon them. When they start to come up in our consciousness. So not to get frustrated out of these happenings, but to, as we were reading in the heroic heart also, that to take them all on the path. Everything can be taken on the path. And when mother shares that जो हमारे में बिल्कुल extreme darkness है, उसका बिल्कुल opposite जो light वाला part है, that is what we are capable of. That's why we are given as a raw material that darkness. So that brings a lot of hope in us, that if we have lots of attachment, addiction, desires, all of this darker material, it means we are capable of illuminating all of that to a greater light. And when we, I think in some session we were also sharing that, as he shares here, that they can rise in the moments of weakness or during dreams. So पहली बात तो ये हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि मेरा हो गया, because one moment will come and you will again be finding yourself desirous or ambitious or in greed or in just aggressive or vicious, very vicious. So we don't know when that moment comes. Secondly, when in dreams we begin to have dreams where something solid we can see that, okay, this is what I experienced in dream, it means that some very positive deep layered change has happened, because dreams you can't manipulate, conscious state you can manipulate. तो ये हमने बात पहले भी डिस्कस किया था, that in dreams if instead of rising up of darker and ugly material, if good material rises up in dreams, it means that some deep change is happening parallelly. It's a very good signal. So ये हमारी कॉन्शियस वेकिंग स्टेट्स पे जो हम प्रैक्टिस कर रहे होते हैं, उसका ये आप मान लो कि एक सिम्टम हो गया, कि आपको अगर पता लगाना है कि है ना प्रैक्टिस कितनी डीपर लेवल पे जा रही है, तो वो ड्रीम्स, इफ वी आर कॉन्शियस इवन ऑफ सम ड्रीम्स, देन वी कैन नो कि हाँ, मतलब वन कैन एक्चुअली बी, वन कैन से वन स्टेप अहेड. And in dreams, parallelly, if we see rising up of ugly material, तो वो भी बहुत अच्छा है, because then it tells me, अच्छा अभी ये गया नहीं है, all of that is there and I need to work upon that. So that's also good. Both of them are good.
Yeah, so I think then we can stop here for this article and we'll continue with the passage. So, we had covered this, how to will truly, and this section is now complete. The section where we covered sincerity, vigilance, and in the end, the willpower. And now the new one would begin, other persons and forces.
Yeah, Taru, can you just pause the screen share for a moment?
Yeah.
Just I thought of sharing something on just conclude will. I'm sure that must be shared in earlier sessions also, but just it's coming to me. So see, we are all willing all the time. जब हमें चाय चाहिए होती है तो हम उठ के अपने लिए चाय बनाते हैं. जब हमें किसी से मिलने जाना होता है, वहां पे हमको कोई विल की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, हमारे कदम अपने आप उठ चलते हैं मिलने के लिए, या व्हाटएवर, शॉपिंग जाना है, आपको कोई भी काम करना है जिसके लिए आप कन्विंस्ड हो. जो सही चीजें हैं उनके लिए अब अगर अभी हम कन्विंस्ड नहीं हैं, वहां पे हम स्ट्रगल करते हैं विल के साथ, कि आपको पता है कि ये मेरे लिए बेनिफिशियल है, बट अभी पार्ट्स ऑफ द बीइंग आर नॉट कन्विंस्ड फुली कि ये मुझे करना चाहिए. तो वहां पे हम बात करते हैं कि ओ लेट मी विल ट्रूली टू वेक अप एट 4 AM. व्हाई? बिकॉज सम पार्ट्स ऑफ बीइंग आर नॉट विद यू. वो कह रहे हैं, अरे यार क्या करेगा 4 बजे उठ के, है ना, इतनी देर से सो रहा है ना, जो भी वॉट एवर रीजन्स में कमा. और यू योर सेल्फ मे बी विद एक्चुअली इन डिफेंस ऑफ दैट कि हाँ एक्चुअली में मुझे कुछ करना नहीं है 4 बजे. वो तो बड़े लोग कह गए कि 4 बजे उठो, बट मैं क्या करूंगी 4 बजे उठ के, कि उठ तो गई, अब करना क्या है. तो होता क्या है कि आई थिंक यहाँ पे ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है कि क्यों हम सत्संग करते हैं, क्यों हम श्री औरोबिंदो और मदर के वर्ड्स पढ़ते हैं, क्यों हम बाकी सत्संग जो भी वाणियां हैं, व्हाई वी लिसन टू ऑल ऑफ दैट, बिकॉज दैट helps us to create a true नॉलेज और ट्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि मेरे लिए क्या उचित है। ये हम वही लास्ट टाइम बात कर रहे थे कि अगर कोई एक बंदा पढ़ ले, मान लो वो सिगरेट पीता है और उसने पूरी रिसर्च कर ली सिगरेट के बारे में कि सिगरेट से क्या क्या डैमेज होता है, वो एक्चुअली में सिगरेट नहीं हाथ लगा पाएगा। सो द बेस्ट वे टू कंटिन्यू आवर ओल्डर वेज which are non beneficial is not to have knowledge about them. अपने आप को इग्नोरेंस में रखो, कहते हैं ना इग्नोरेंस इज ब्लिस। अगर मैं पढ़ूंगी ही नहीं कि सिगरेट क्या नुकसान करती है तो मुझे फिर छोड़ने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर पढ़ लिया तो ओ बड़ा खतरा कि आगे से टच ही नहीं कर पाऊंगी, right? So that is why when we read about desires, when we read about how much it is like not beneficial for us to keep desiring, keep living attached, and keep tormenting ourselves through all these means, जब हम इसके बारे में पढ़ते हैं, when we read about these things, then when the next time a desire is coming up, when the next time a torment is coming up, we will not be able to torment ourselves, है ना। बार बार वो मदर की प्रेयर आएगी जहां पे मदर कह रही है डू नॉट टॉर्मेंट माई दाई सेल्फ माई चाइल्ड, पीस पीस। द मोमेंट आई स्टार्ट टू टॉर्मेंट माई सेल्फ बिकॉज ऑफ सम एक्सपेक्टेशन और डिजायर, so this is the fayda, one can say, of reading these words, and that is how we will be able to will truly, because through all these things that we are reading, the whole being will aspire that this is the right direction and this is what I have to do. फिर अब आपको सप्रेस या मास्क करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, अपने आपको धक्का देने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी 4 बजे उठने के लिए। आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि 4 बजे उठना, दैट्स जस्ट एन एग्जांपल आई एम यूजिंग, It could be anything that you really really want to do but you are not able to do right now. आपको पता है वो आपके लिए अच्छा है बट नहीं कर पा रहे, धक्का देना पड़ रहा है अपने आप को। तो जब हम उसके बारे समझते हैं, उसके बारे में रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं, क्या कहते हैं उसको, चिंतन मनन निधिध्यासन, ऑल दीज एस्पेक्ट्स। सो yeah, so when we do all of that, then we become transparent and the being begins to aspire for the right thing. तो फिर हम विल भी कर पाते हैं, सही चीज को विल कर पाते हैं। सो जस्ट दैट आई वांटेड टू शेयर दैट या विद नॉलेज कम्स अ ट्रू विल आल्सो इन द बीइंग, द मोर द नॉलेज ट्रिकल्स इनटू ईच एंड एवरी सेल ऑफ द बॉडी।
Yes, thank you. Shravan, Manan, Nidya. Yeah. And I think like holistic knowledge, है ना, usually if we are wanting to research and if we have a bent or a preference towards something, we get attracted to one side and say कि हाँ, see, this is what I thought and it's confirming. But what you are talking about is like the full view, right? Like if one knows one thing completely without the preferences and the judgment, then one won't be able to. Otherwise, the things that we usually do rather solidify what we have been doing. I mean, they have a chance, so one has to be careful because intelligent we are, and how even the article shared that, how the mind has a way of just justifying everything.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, आई थिंक दिस इज ऑल्सो समवेयर वी ऑल मे हैव सीन आवरसेल्व्स डूइंग इट, कि मदर और श्री अरविंदो के वर्ड्स में से भी ना हम कुछ कुछ ट्वीक करके उठा लेते हैं कि देखो यहाँ पे मदर कह रही है कि वही करना चाहिए जो मैं करना चाह रही हूँ। So very true, one has to be very careful. Yes.
And I remember on this line when we had met Jet Sundala, when we were leaving, how she said that may all your aspirations come true. And then she corrected herself in a second that the good ones, just the good ones. So I think that's something we have to do for ourselves, that keep making sure that, yeah, the center is right. Yeah. So any reflections, comments, anything on the topic of will before we proceed to the next segment?
Yes, ma'am. Monica, ma'am, in the beginning, when you were sharing about how one, one stops drinking coffee for a month, and then, even so, like that habit, like depending on coffee, kind of they're independent. They don't want coffee to. But then, even though in the end you said even though if they drink it next time, they can still be independent. So on that question, I stopped drinking beer for 3 months this year. So and I was very happy because I didn't want to go back. I had no intention to go back. It wasn't like a grace period. I just said, okay, this is enough for me. But then occasions came, I met friends and I had a drink. But I thought that since I've left it, I thought it won't affect me anymore. But I was at a friend's party. I had a beer, and then what happened is after that somehow I went into like I saw myself in situations where I was drinking, like they were offering, and I said, "Yeah, give me one beer because I had it last time." I broke the cycle. So I want to know next time I do this, how should I approach it? Thank you.
See, मुझे लगता है कि beer is not a problem. Neither is cigarette a problem. Aurobindo used to smoke cigar for some time, right? We all know that anecdote. Neither is wine a problem. I would even say to this extent that all the things that we considered as, oh, ये तो touch भी नहीं करना है ना, none of them is a problem. प्रॉब्लम वहां पे है ही नहीं. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि उसको टच कर कौन रहा है, हम कौन सी स्पेस से आ रहे हैं. तो जब आपने 3 महीने तक बियर छोड़ी, उन 3 महीने में क्या साधना हो रही थी क्या, ये हमें देखना है. अगर उन 3 महीने में कड़ी साधना नहीं हो रही थी तो आप वही के वही हो, और फिर से आप जो टच करोगे तो फिर से वो करप्टेड सेंटर ही टच कर रहा है ना. द सेंटर विच इज ऑलवेज लैकिंग, ऑलवेज इन लैक, वो सेंटर अभी मरा नहीं है. तभी तो कहते हैं मन को मृतक जान के मत कीजिए विश्वास, साधु तब तक भय करे जब तक पिंजर में सांस. So the ego consciousness, which is a lacking consciousness, which has a feeling of this void within, which is unfulfilled, and it wants to fulfill it through all these outward means, that is never, one can say it is never dying. अभी हम अपने लिए कह सकते हैं it is never dying, going to die. ठीक है. Now, after 3 months when I am exposing myself to again that thing, the difference will be seen only when those 3 months have been a process of sadhana, and I, when emerge out of those 3 months, I am a different person altogether. हमारे साथ वो कहाँ होता है, हम तो वही के वही बाहर निकलते हैं जब 3 मंथ्स के बाद बाहर निकलते हैं, है ना. सो तभी मैं कह रही थी कि जब हम डी एडिक्शन कर रहे हैं, रिहेबिलिटेशन और कंटिन्यूइंग ऑफ दैट साधना, सो दैट यू हैव फाउंड दैट ग्राउंडिंग विद इन. अब सावित्री का आप अगर एग्जाम्पल ले यहाँ पे, है ना, नॉट totally that example, but I think we can still resonate some bit of it here. Now she is craving for Satyavan, she is desiring Satyavan. We see all these shades in Savitri. She is even grieving for Satyavan कि अब मैं क्या करूंगी, मेरा तो खत्म संसार. ठीक है, क्या करती है वो, सत्यवान वो फिर भी मांग लेती है लास्ट में. बट उससे पहले वो जो बीच का टाइम निकला, where did she spend all that time? The book of yoga, the parable of the search for the soul. तो वो खाली नहीं बैठी हुई, वो योगा कर रही है. वो कंटेंटमेंट जो सत्यवान में ढूंढती है, वो अपने अंदर वो ग्राउंडिंग ढूंढ रही है. एंड येट सिंस द वांट इज ट्रू, she still goes ahead and asks for सत्यवान. तो हमने अपने अंदर क्या करना है, हमने अपने आप को कोई कट करके नहीं जीवन जीना है ना, कि यहां से कट कर दिया, वहां से कट कर दिया, ये नहीं टच करूंगा, वो नहीं टच करूंगा, है ना. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं करना है. लेकिन ये है कि हम किस भाव से टच कर रहे हैं. क्या हम एक हबशी बन के कंज्यूमरिस्ट, आई वांट टू कंज्यूम दिस सो दैट इट फुलफिल्स मी बिकॉज आई डोंट हैव कंटेंटमेंट, और वी आर टचिंग लाइक, एक्चुअली यू कैन टच बियर लाइक अ प्रसाद. आई एम सेइंग बिकॉज आई कैन डू इट. I can taste wine and I know that I would not indulge in wine. I am not saying that I am a sadhu, but at least this aspect of alcohol I am talking about, कि मुझे पता है कि ये possible है. Food we can approach like that without greed and indulgence, just to exist, to offer this body something. Same goes for money, same goes for relationships, same goes for everything. अगर मैं श्रद्धा भाव से किसी भी चीज को टच कर रही हूं, कोई भी चीज मुझे नुकसान नहीं पहुंचा सकती. Mother also tried at one point of time, she was wanting to have this experience of these जो ये drugs होते हैं ना of different sorts who alter the state of consciousness. She did take it up. Nisargadatta Maharaj consumed a whole lot of marijuana. They were not impacted because they were not approaching it like that. तो हमको अपना अंदर का भाव ठीक करना है. और उसके बाद अगर आप फ्रेंड के साथ बैठ के कॉफी पी रहे हो या एक आपने बियर पी भी ली, इट इज इमटेरियल, इट इज सेकेंडरी, कुछ नहीं है उसका. लेकिन कहने का मतलब है कि आज में अगर कोई मुझे बोले कि अजय ये तुम छोड़ दो, तो क्या मैं टच नहीं करूंगी? हाँ, मैं नहीं टच करूंगी. क्या हम वहां पे हैं? तो अगर वहां पे हैं तो बहुत अच्छा है, नहीं है तो होना चाहिए, है ना. वो चिपचिपाहट की बात है, दैट ग्रास्पिंग. अगर वो अगेन वी कम बैक टू व्हाट द क्रक्स ऑफ इंटीग्रल योगा. We have to disidentify from the desiring self and move to the true soul or consciousness, है ना, जहां पे contentment is a byproduct of being in touch with that. Relationships में भी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, आप शादी करो, आप बच्चे करो, जिसको जो करना है करे, बट वो जो चिपचिपाहट है जो हमारी एक जो आदत बन जाती है चीजों की, उससे हमको परे रहना है. एक ही चीज की आदत होनी चाहिए, वो है हमारा और डिवाइन का कनेक्शन. उसके अलावा हमें किसी भी चीज की आदत नहीं पड़ जानी चाहिए. और कुछ लोग कह सकते हैं भाई क्या बुराई है? नहीं, बुराई तो कर लो. कौन मतलब फ्री विल है, जिए जैसे जिसको जीना. लेकिन हमको अगर समझ आ रही है कि ये कितना तकलीफ देह है, दिस इज हाउ वी टॉर्मेंट आवरसेल्व्स, देन वी विल स्टॉप डूइंग इट, बिकॉज दिस इज अ टॉर्मेंट. जब हम चीजों को चिपक जाते हैं और उसके पीछे पढ़ के कि वहां से मिलेगा वहां से मिलेगा, मतलब आई हैव फेल्ट दैट टॉर्मेंट सो इंटेंसली कि अब मन नहीं करता उस तरीके से जीने का. इट्स एक्चुअली अ टॉर्मेंट. तो अगर अभी हम कन्विंस नहीं है, तो भगवान की दया इतनी हो हमारे ऊपर कि हमको ऐसे एक्सपीरियंसेस मिले इंटेंस सफरिंग वाले, कि उसके बाद तो पक्का हम कन्विंस हो जाएंगे कि किस तरीके से जीना है. तभी हम बार बार डिटैचमेंट की बात करते हैं.
नहीं नहीं, आपने जो अभी शब्द यूज किया कि हमें इस तरह की सफरिंग मिले, तो हमें सफरिंग भी मिलने की क्या जरूरत है? वो तो हमारे स्वयं के अनुभव से वो चीज छूट जाएगी. जब होनी होगी तो सफरिंग इज नॉट नेसेसरी, आई थिंक.
नेसेसरी तो बिल्कुल नहीं है रवि जी, यू आर राइट. बट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट माई सेल्फ दैट आई हैव सीन इन मी दैट इफ नॉट फॉर इंटेंस सफरिंग, कुत्ते की पूंछ की बात कर रही हूँ, अदर कैरेक्टर्स आर ऑल्सो देयर. If not for intense suffering that you taste when you live an attached life, I don't know how to go back to my center. I don't know. मुझे पता नहीं है वो कैसे करते हैं. मतलब पिछले कर्म होते होंगे कुछ लोगों के जो सीधा पाथ पे चढ़ जाते होंगे, बट जो मैंने ये देखा है, चाहे आप कितना भी पढ़ाई कर लो स्क्रिप्चर्स की, आप फिर भी एक अटैच जीवन जी सकते हो, ये मैंने देखा है. और फिर भी आप अपने आप को टॉर्मेंट कर सकते हो, रनिंग आफ्टर दोज आउटवर्ड थिंग्स दैट दे विल ब्रिंग यू कंटेंटमेंट एंड दे आर द वे टू योर हैप्पीनेस. ये आप कर सकते हो. आई हैव सीन इट विद माई सेल्फ हैपनिंग. द ओनली वे आई टर्न्ड, और आई वॉज, वन कैन से आई वॉज कंपेल्ड टू टर्न. कंपेल्ड टू टर्न इज कि बहुत हो गया, अब इससे ज्यादा बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा. तो मैं तो हाँ कुत्ते की पूंछ वाली बात कर रही हूँ, बाकी और अच्छे केसेस भी हो सकते हैं. हो तो अच्छी बात है.
जो आज मैंने बात डिस्कस की है, ये बहुत अच्छी बात है कि 90% लोग इसी उसमें रहते हैं कि अरे मैं ये नहीं करूंगा, मैं वो नहीं करूंगा, मेरी साधना ये हो जाएगी, वो हो जाएगी. मतलब बड़ा दुख होता है देख करके, और बड़ा अजीब सा लगता है कि लोगों की कॉन्शियसनेस अभी तक वो जो श्री अरविंद जी कहने चाह रहे हैं, वहां तक हम लोग पहुंच नहीं पाते हैं. मतलब हम लोग अपनी लिए बात नहीं कर रहे, मगर जनरल कि साहब मैं प्याज नहीं खाऊंगा, मैं ये नहीं करूंगा, मैं वो नहीं करूंगा, तो वो चीज आपने वही डिस्कस करी. दैट इज वेरी ट्रू, वेरी ट्रू.
लेकिन
और
रवि
मैं
जी
तो इसी
देखिए,
से गुजर रहा हूँ.
हाँ इसमें ये भी होता है ना कि देखो, अगर आप अपने लाइफ में you have been through phases where you have actually yourself also denied a particular thing, for some time, फिर आप दूसरों के phases पे जजमेंटल होने की हमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज उसके लिए भी तो ये फेज ही है. मान लो वो कह रहा है मुझे प्याज टच नहीं करना, लहसुन टच नहीं करना, क्या अगर मैंने अपने जीवन में ऐसा नहीं फेज एक्सपीरियंस किया, जब मैं भी ऐसी थी, मैंने तो किया है, तो फिर आप बोलते हो ये भी तो इसकी लाइफ का भी तो फेज ही है. सो देन हाउ डज इट मैटर? दीज आर फेजेस ऑफ अवर लाइफ.
बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल सही.
Resonating with Jagat, what he said, I just was reminded with the story of Ramakrishnan, a very close disciple who became a disciple, very close disciple of his, forgetting his name, Oberoi or something, but he, he was into addictions, smoking, drinking, all of that. And, but he really liked what Ramakrishnan used to say, all the things about surrender, Divine Mother, and everything. And he came to him and he said, I really like whatever you say, but I cannot leave. I cannot leave my drinks. I cannot leave my cigarette. I cannot leave, all these things with women, my interactions and everything. And Ramakrishnan smiled and he just said that, but you don't have to leave anything. Just offer it to me since you like me. And he said, that's it. He said, yeah, that's it. And then next time he started drinking, when he started drinking or smoking or doing things, when he started offering, it was very difficult to offer. Uh, Initially he did, but as his consciousness progressed, it was very hard for him to offer. And he went back and told him, he said that I cannot offer. And it had become so difficult for me that, should I offer it or should I take it? So Ramakrishna said, it's your wish. It's your wish what you want to do. And eventually, of course, there was a lot of transformation. He became a devotee, but like, of course, Monica has explained it as well. But I also feel that this compulsion that I have to leave again, I have to do this. It's very hard, at least for me. My will, this again, so much me, myself all the time. But even if we can, like, like even Monica mentioned, offer the beer to the mother, to the divine, or to the universe, whosoever you resonate with, and see. Now, it could be that you're so detached. Most of the time, it is not true. That's what I've seen with people. That kind of a stage where mother comes to the Aurobindo and says that, because you are smoking, other disciples have started smoking as well, but they're not understanding that it is divine leela. For them, it is, just an example. And he just said, oh, the mother has said, and he just leaves it. He just leaves it in a second. Some things like cigar and cigarettes are considered to be quite addictive. So like what Monica was saying, that detached self or a self where you can completely leave it to the next moment. But I personally feel most of us are not like that. And if you can do it, great. But like for myself, like another people, I know that it becomes something that you cannot, if it's not like, oh, I cannot be with it. Like there's something that will always tell you, take it, it's fine, take it, So in that sense, for me, what has worked is like just surrendering to her and just seeing. A voice might tell you that, like, inner self might tell you that you should leave it. It's good for you. It should leave it. Like it might not happen. And if that happens, and if like even if you said you didn't want to drink for 3 months, why is it? It's just because people said it, it's unspiritual. Or sometimes it could be like that your inner self says, okay, you need a little bit of purification, maybe not have it, and you listen to it. So again, it's very hard to kind of universalize these things as well. So I think the safest thing is just to keep surrendering the beer to the mother or whatever. With myself as well, I really like sugar as well, so I just surrender it to her because I think I'm quite addicted to it. So, and see how it works out from that example as well of Ramakrishnan. It did bring a big change in the person. Forgot the
His
name.
name was Girish Ghosh, Girish Chandra
Yes,
Ghosh.
Girish. Yes, thank you, Captain. Thank you.
He was the almost world famous dramatist. He used to write drama, then he used to sing well, and he used to act also in the stage. There is a Star Theatre at the British time in Calcutta, and still it is there. Since name has changed, so all the theatres used to take place. So Ramakrishna continued that you must continue that. That is for the people's education, which is required.
I think there was on the synthesis of yoga group, there was a passage shared where Sri Aurobindo talks about the necessity of denying yourself of something तो मुझे लगता है कि जो जो इस एक्सपेरिमेंट्स की तरफ अट्रैक्ट होते हैं, दोज ऑफ अस, नॉट एवरीवन मे बी, वी मस्ट एक्चुअली एक्सपेरिमेंट फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम दीज थिंग्स। तो उसमें ये फेज था कि श्री अरबिंदो बता रहे हैं कि हाउ सेल्फ डिनायल of something that you feel that you are addicted to is a kind of a necessary phase. He uses the term necessary phase. क्योंकि वो वाला टाइम, अब कोई भी चीज़ है, हम अगर सब यहाँ पे अगर 9 लोग बैठे हैं टोटल, तो अगर हम अपना लाइफ को एकदम से देखें, सो वी कैन एक्चुअली सी what are all those things or a few things which I think I can't live without. दिस वुड बी अ नाइस एक्सपेरिमेंट, है ना। जो जो चीजें हम सोचते हैं कि इनके बिना आई कांट लिव, नॉट द बेसिक एसेंशियल्स, मैं पानी और बेसिक खाने की बात नहीं कर रही, ना मैं हवा की बात कर रही हूँ जो नाक से आती है अंदर, मतलब जस्ट दीज आउटवर्ड एक्सेसरीज, है ना। इट कुड बी लोग, मेरे जीवन के लोग, इट कुड बी सम सीरीज दैट आई वॉच ऑब्सेसिवली, it could be maybe shopping, it could be drinking, whatever, walking, it could be even walking, है ना, कुछ भी हो सकता है वो। ऐसी कोई भी चीज जो मुझे लगता है कि मैं इसके बिना नहीं जी सकती, it would be a very nice experiment for us to try to live without it for a day, 2, 3, 4, however much we can extend it. तो उसमें क्या होता है, when we do such kind of experiments, we gain a lot of grounding within our being, which is independent of anything in the world. आप चाहे जेल में हो, आप चाहे अच्छी जगह पे हो, चाहे आप बाहर से गंदी जगह में हो, nothing now can bother you because you have gained that solidity within yourself. फिर जब उसके बाद हम बाहर निकल के फिर से आते हैं again to embrace the world, then we will see that it's a different kind of a birth, as if a new birth is there. तो ये टाइम टू टाइम आई फील दीज एक्सपेरिमेंट्स आर वेरी वेरी गुड। अब मान लो कोई स्पीकर है, अ पर्सन हु लाइक्स टू स्पीक and gives public speeches, for him it would be very nice to actually stop speaking completely, because our identity जो होती है, हमारी ईगो उसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट होने लग जाती है। वी कांट स्टॉप विदाउट स्पीकिंग, मतलब वी कांट लिव विदाउट स्पीकिंग। जरूरी है सबके सामने बात करना, क्योंकि वो जो अप्रिसिएशन मिलती है वो आप उससे एडिक्टिव हो जाते हो, है ना। you can't live without that appreciation and that connect with other people. So anything that we all feel is my point of weakness, actually दर्द होगा वहां पे, आपको छोड़ते हुए दर्द होगा, but I think it's a very good experiment for those interested कि आप 1-2 दिन, 1 हफ्ता, whatever, how far you can extend it, to just leave that which you think most essential for you, because that is when we find the most essential in us. That is when we get in touch with that most essential in us. So I don't know how we reached here from willing truly. कहीं का कहीं घूम गए. Yeah, but that's okay.
This is also will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be will, right? True.
The topic was self denial ना, what you had kind of, तो फिर उसके साथ में वो will आ ही गया, right? Yeah, anything, anybody else on what we were talking, will, self denial?
Yes, Monica, ma'am, on that same topic that we discussed before, you know, I'll elaborate the whole question. Like, mother, mother was against, drugs, right? Especially like hard drugs and marijuana and all. And the question is, if one leaves drugs and is no longer influenced or wanting, and in the meantime, let's say for for like 5 years. They do the sadhana, rigorous sadhana, and at one point they come in contact with this again. Like the first question is, won't that drug still have effect? Again, I'll add some context to this, and because certain addictions are really damaging, like like drug addiction, like marijuana. Well, marijuana is still easy, like there's cocaine, there's LSD, there is a lot of things, and also like someone has um am I audible? I think my screen's stuck. Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
perfect. Yeah, someone has drugs addiction, alcohol addiction, someone has sex addiction. There are different kinds of addictions which are actually damaging, and if one is doing that sadhana, and if it's again is going back to it, thinking that, or not thinking, but and will like, won't these addictions still not affect him? Because I have when I moved to Canada, I was introduced to cannabis, especially in the form of I was given a joint, and like I think after my friend was persistent for 2 years, and I had a joint, and it took my senses away. Then I accidentally had an edible, like a chocolate. I didn't know it was. I thought it's a Cadbury. I had it, and I don't know. Like, it was a crazy experience. I don't want that again. Anyway, so these are certain drugs which actually control the mind, like control everything. Like I am telling myself that you are high, just stop laughing at the coffee shop, at the woman. I was laughing at someone. And I think stop it, and there's no control whatsoever. So which is why I think there are certain addictions which are extremely dangerous, extremely damaging and dangerous. Even if one does sadhana, is it okay to go back? Because the last point I would like to add is because
No, it's
I
not
know my
okay. Answer in short is it's
yes,
not
yes,
okay
yes,
to go back.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
for us, मैं
Because
अपनी बात कर रही हूँ, हम
yes,
जहाँ पे हैं, we can be
yes,
pretty sure that
yes.
it's not okay to go back. Yes.
And again, I really wanted to know this. Thank you very much. Because after sadhana, I am aware of the smartness that I have in my head. After like let's say 5 years of sadhana, my mind will tell me, it's 5 years of sadhana. You have such great control. Like very subtly to say. I know that if I go back again, these old patterns will catch me because I think you already answered me that it is not a good thing that
नहीं,
for
दूसरी
where
बात
we
आप
are.
ये देखो, दूसरी बात देखो, when we talk about true renunciation, now
Yes,
if now you are at this stage of your life, if I give
yes,
you a teddy bear or anything that you have outgrown,
yes.
would you feel like actually playing with it? Anything that you've
No,
outgrown,
no.
and you would not even feel like. True renunciation is like that.
Yeah, yes,
कि आपको उसको टच करने का अब इच्छा ही जागृत नहीं होती, उसका कह सकते हैं उसका सीड मर गया है। लेकिन जिस
huh,
तरीके से हम हैं
huh,
अभी, और हमारा जो
huh,
इंटेंसिटी है साधना की या जो भी प्रैक्टिस की, वी कैन बी प्रिटी श्योर कि हमारे सीड इतनी जल्दी मरने वाले नहीं हैं। सारे सीड्स वहीं के वहीं धरे हुए हैं मिट्टी में,
yes,
जैसे उनको कॉजेज और कंडीशंस मिलेंगी वो पनपने लग जाएंगी।
yes,
तो बेटर ये है हमारे लिए कि हम ऐसे सीड्स को नर्चर दें जो हमारे लिए भले हैं,
yes, yes,
है ना।
yes,
तभी
ma'am.
हम
Yes,
सत्संगत की बात करते हैं और हैविंग अ गुड कंपनी
yes,
की बात करते हैं, क्योंकि
yes,
हमारे सीड्स वो डोरमेंट फॉर्म में पड़े रहते हैं। बट ट्रू
yes,
रिनंसिएशन इज दैट रिनंसिएशन, like if I now if somebody gives me a soft toy, I would rather give it away to some kid because there is nothing in my being which resonates with a soft toy,
yes,
right? So
yes,
that is what is true renunciation। और अगर वो नहीं है अभी, तो it's better not to touch these things। Not only better, but really really advisable because they are
yes,
very very harmful। And as you very rightly said that एक तरफ से हम सेल्फ मास्टरी की बात कर रहे हैं, that we want to be master of our being, और यहाँ पे कोई
yeah,
ऐसी चीज है जिसका इन्फ्लुएंस इतना ज्यादा है हमारे ऊपर कि सारी
yes,
मास्टरी वास्टरी गई भाड़ में।
huh, huh,
And mother says about this that in these moments where one does stupid things, you do such kind of things that there is
yeah,
no, you repented for the rest of your life।
yes,
So
yes,
why to put yourself in such a situation where you
yes,
know that you will have no
yes,
control over yourself and you will repent it?
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, this is eye-opening. Very important because of yeah, like true renunciation would not even, like true renunciation would think, what will I do with this teddy bear? Instead of thinking, okay, you know what, I'll play with this, nothing will happen. That's not true renunciation. So that's where I have to see myself. Okay, you know what, this is not true renunciation.
So we
You know
have
what,
to
I'll
give,
think,
we have to give
yes,
ourselves better toys to play with.
yes, yes,
Give yourself the highest toy to play with.
yes,
क्योंकि वो नहीं दोगे तो उसकी जगह एक गड्ढा बना रहेगा,
yes,
और वो अगर गड्ढा बना हुआ है तो फिर से जब वो टेडी बियर सामने आएगा तो अब फिर से आपके दिमाग में विचार आने शुरू हो जाएंगे, अच्छा चलो इसका ये करते हैं, इसका वो करते हैं.
yes,
बट अगर
yes,
आपके पास ऑलरेडी बहुत काम है, यू हैव गुड टॉयज टू प्ले विद, then there is
yes,
no time in your life to think about the teddy bear.
yes,
So we have to give ourselves good beneficial toys to play with.
yes, yes, yes. When these toys are there, then even someone gives this teddy bear also is like, no, I don't want to play. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
There's a very good talk by Ramdas, who has experimented a lot with psychedelics, from psychedelics to service. I think very beautiful, very beautiful, and incorporates a lot that we have discussed already as well. So if you just want to hear, it would be good.
ये वही बात है ना, देखो मतलब एक तरफ से हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं टू टेम द माइंड, कि माइंड थोड़ा सा तो कंट्रोल में आए, मतलब हर जगह चलता रहता है, अगर मैं बोलूँ 2 मिनट बैठ तो बैठे. और दूसरी तरफ से हम ऐसी चीज़ों का इस्तेमाल करना शुरू कर दें कि वो जो बेचारा 2 मिनट भी काबू होना शुरू हुआ था, है ना, 2 मिनट भी मेरी बात सुन के बैठता था, अब वो भी मेरे हाथ में नहीं रहा, है ना. तो दिस इज व्हाट मदर, इन मदर्स वर्ड्स वी कैन कॉल एक्चुअली ट्रू स्टूपिडिटी. दिस इज व्हाट स्टूपिडिटी इज. हम करते हैं, वी आर ऑल स्टूपिड इन वन सेंस, है ना, मतलब कुछ ना कुछ हम अपनी लाइफ में करते हैं और कर करके ही सीखते हैं. वी आर ऑल लाइक दैट. बट जानबूझ के ड्रेन के अंदर पैर डालना थोड़ा खतरनाक है. ऐसा ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर बार हम रुक पाएँ. ऐसे तो कितने ही लोग हैं जिसको, है ना, हम खुद शादी करके बैठे होते हैं, उसके दूसरे को बोलते हैं यार तू मत कर शादी, क्या करेगी, है ना, व्हाटएवर, बट लोग करके ही मानते हैं, है ना. तो जिसकी जैसी जर्नी है, यू कैन स्टॉप इट. बट स्टिल इफ देर आर थिंग्स वेयर यू कैन स्टॉप पुटिंग एक्चुअली योर फीट इन द फायर, व्हाई नॉट स्टॉप इट? Why not give yourself good things to play with, so that we have joy also, progress also, and now there is no need. I remember a friend of mine to whom I had actually given, and there was this little block of marijuana a friend had given. It stayed for me, with me for some time. I was never able to use it. Plus I shared it with a friend also. Would you like to use it? You know, somebody has given it. No, nothing. It actually went into the dustbin. So, you know, ऐसा भी होता है कि आपको नहीं पड़ रही, जरूरत ही नहीं है. यू हैव एनफ गुड टॉयज टू प्ले विद. So we must all put ourselves in some kind of, you know, creative expression of life, through service, through wherever, if we are interacting with people, through that it can happen in whatever little sphere of life. If we begin to creatively express ourselves, तो वहां से जो आपको कंटेंटमेंट मिलती है, that is much more of a high what a drug can give you. Plus that is not addictive. It can become addictive, but again from time to time we have to go deeper within and disconnect also from that outward interaction, क्योंकि अच्छा रहता है ये, you know, time to time अपने अंदर जाना और to be absolutely independent of outward things. मुझे लगता है जो लोग सीरियस हैं इस मामले में, उनके लिए everybody may not resonate with it, but yeah, some of us may appreciate it rather.
And I mean, it's so wonderful to read, of course, not experience at all, to what meditation can actually do to you. like to what level you can reach. Now I remember long back Taru shared this. I think we were reading, there was a speech she shared by Acharya Prashant, and she gave example of a father who believed in somebody, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he went to the operation, and he said that I do not want any sedative. And the doctor said, what are you saying? We're going to do the surgery and everything. He said, no, let me try. I don't want any sedative. Like, don't put anesthesia. He he did it. He was able to do it. And then the doctors were amazed. I think Tarun would be knowing it. And he said, and doctor asked that, did you not feel pain? Because they were completely shocked. And he said that the one who felt the pain was not me. So that was this dissociation. And when she shared it, I said, oh my God, I don't think so. It's really possible. That much dissociation from the pain, that somebody's doing surgery and you don't feel it. But then yesterday I was reading about, because you were mentioning about Deepa Ma quite a lot, I was reading about her just because I don't know about her, so I want to read. And there was, in her life history, it was mentioned that she, when she was meditating in the monastery, and a dog came and bit her, and the dog bit her, and she did not feel it. It was other people who came and made the dog, chew the dog, and it literally, he took the flesh out, but she did not. And I was shocked, like, not shocked, but I was amazed. It's another example, but this is like a very recent example of this thing. And just with meditation. So I mean, that I was just saying that, wow, like I thought, wow, maybe I can do it as well if she can do it, but I have to sit down and meditate nicely, not just 5 minutes, but more. But that is really our potential. And I think that also Taru mentioned, it stayed with me. He said that is our potential, really our potential, and where we are. Just, like, it's amazing as well to see. So all these LSD and all, and psychedelics, and of course, there are many addictions, I feel just a mirage, like, we have such big gem in us, like that example I gave. And if we want, I don't think so we want, that's why we don't have it yet. If we will really want, I just say I want to be like that, but I don't want to be, because if I really want to leave alcohol, if I really want to leave sugar, I will. There is no doubt about it. So, like, as you said, it's good to acknowledge. And sometimes I tell, like, let's be real, I don't want it, that's why I don't have it, you know so yeah, just that example I wanted to share, that really, like, stood out, that's really a potential if we want to do it through meditation and nothing else. No drugs, no nothing else, nothing else you need. Just sit down and do it.
So I think we can end with this note. So yeah, so just taking one last minute to just, dedicate whatever merit that we might have accumulated through this or other practices with everybody. Praying for, connection and the ability to develop the true will and, connected with the higher soul. May I be able to rise above, my petty desires and wills and go for the highest that is my possibility. So I pray, I aspire for this for myself and everybody. Thank you.